G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Thursday, the 7th of June 2018, and the time here is 10 AM Australian Eastern Standard Time. Well folks, sorry I haven't posted for a couple of days, but I've been pretty flat out here at home doing renos, or catching up on the renos that I'm supposed to have done. Which is a little bit tough with my illness. It just wears me out a lot, so I try as much as I can. You can't let it beat you, got to keep going. But what I wanted to focus today on was more to do about finance, because look, I started all of this many years ago because of finance, and financial is what's going to come around first before anything else. Again, that's always been my number one prediction, if I've got a prediction. The debt levels of some of these countries is just, it's bordering on ludicrous. You're talking about debt levels that have never been seen before, ever. So, and a lot of people like us think that everything's honky-dory because, well, I can still go down to Coles and Woolies and, Kmart or wherever, and I can still spend my money on my credit card. So things are just great. Well, look, in actual fact, that's a myth. And in actual fact, it's actually what they want you to keep doing, because without you spending, this whole machine can't keep going that they've got going. And I'm going to prove it to you in a couple of easy ways here. So if you don't follow financial, and I'm not a financial guru, I'm just a part-time economic hack. But I'm just going to put some little dots together. So if you want to, you can go ahead yourself and actually check out some of this stuff. Because this should have collapsed years ago, folks. In actual fact, there has never been a recovery. You need to get that through your head first off. There has never been a recovery. And everything they're telling you is just one big fat lie. I'll start off with this. No country using a fiat-based monetary system, has ever come back from 0% interest rates. None. Never happened before. It physically can't, because if you think about it, if you're lending money out at 0%, what happens to the money you've lent out? If you're borrowing at 0%, say the US government, for example, what happens to that money if it goes to 5%? Obviously, their debt repayments are just astronomical, and it sinks the country in a matter of seconds. So this is where we're at financially. They all know it. They've all, in actual fact, if you want to be honest, what they've been doing for the last couple of years is actually just preparing the road for this event to happen. And what I mean by that is they've actually done what they can to protect their own asses, to make sure that they do not go down with the ship. And obviously some of this stuff you can't do overnight. It takes years to implement these processes. So think about that. 2008, GFC, 2016, 2017. Has anything got better? No. So we're talking 8 years, 9 years past the point now. So you've got to ask yourself, well, where are we going this year, 2018? There seemed to be a bit of a boost up in 2016-17, like I said, but it wasn't enough to make you go, well, maybe we're having a big recovery. A classic example of that in Australia is Western Australia. Western Australia for whomever doesn't know, is the mining capital of Australia, and they mine everything there, and it is also the biggest producer of iron ore in the world. Now, the thing here is that China, who is the world's biggest consumer of iron ore, took their foot off the pedal just a bit. And I mean just a bit. They shut down about 3 smelting factories or whatever. Now, the ramifications of that was the price went from $180 down to $40. Now, there has been some uptick in that since then. But here is the other side of the story. China is actually the biggest debt nation currently going. Quite possibly second behind Japan. Now, you've all heard about the recent, China's got loads of gold reserves. Well, look, why do you think China's trying to get everybody to go onto the gold? You know, the petro, yuan, this and that, it's all backed by gold. Everything they're doing is backed by gold. Well, the reason is because they don't have a currency that's going to be worth shit in the next, whenever this explodes. In actual fact, it will be completely zero, as will the majority of them. Now, the only one that will keep going is the US dollar. If you keep thinking about what you're hearing at the moment is that the US dollar is going up, but Trump wants it to go down. Well, the reason it's going up is because people are investing in it. This is all really basic stuff, folks. You know, if you want to take 5 seconds, you can find this stuff. So how does this affect us here in Australia? Well, this is a classic point. Yesterday, even though we're supposed to be, on the same day that they released this information, our economy, our GDP is booming, absolutely booming. But they couldn't raise our interest rates past 1.5%. But the banks are. If you're in Australia, set your mind at this. Have a look at the Reserve Bank of Australia interest rate. It's at 1.5%. It just went past 22 months straight at that level. Then cast your eyes sideways and look at all the banks. The bank interest rates are going up. Now, what's going to happen is that the bond market is going to leave the traditional banking sector, for want of a better term, i.e. federal reserves, etc., and they're going to jump the wagon to the banks. And then interest rates are going to start to take off. Then what happens is the Royal Bank, or Reserve Banks, or whatever you want to call them, whichever country they're in, has no choice but to actually try and catch up. And then you're in this dogfight, and the obvious outcome is that interest rates just skyrocket. Now, if you guys want to watch anything worth listening to, watch Greg Hunter and a couple of recent interviews he's done with financial people. All of them say the same thing. The bond market is going to go off. Bang. Now, the second thing with this is I'm going to show you a website you guys can easily go on that you can see for yourself exactly what is happening. It's called Trading Economics. I'll go there. Okay, guys, this is Trading Economics. I'll put a link in the description box. From what I can see is this is the #1 site to go on, really, for everything you want to know. Forecasts, markets, indicators. Now, you've got to spend some time looking at this, obviously. But then on the right-hand side here, you've got commodities exchange, bonds, stocks, and foreign exchanges. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go down to Germany. No, I'm not. I'm telling you the lie. Hang on a sec. Watch this. So let's go down here. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because Simon, and once again, thanks to Simon, because if you're seeing me in better pictures today, or a better picture, it's because he's fixed up my camera for me and I've got a new digital camera. So we're all go here. We're almost ready to even get my new microphone going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this. This is United States. But then if I click on this, then it shows me everything I need to know about the United States at the moment. Don't go on you can go on the US debt clock, but this is more to the point of what you need to know, because the US debt clock can easily be manipulated. Now, what I'm going to show you here is move across here to the debt to GDP, okay? No, that's not working. Oh, it is working. Hang on a sec. Here we go. Now, what I've just done is I've made it go from the highest to the lowest. Oh, the lowest to the highest, sorry. Now, aren't you shocked knowing that the top one is Russia, debt to GDP? They've got 12.60%, so 12.5%. Folks, I've got to tell you, that is phenomenal. Like, any country in the world would be happy to have that. But what I want to cast your eye to the left and go to interest rates. This is even more important. So their interest rates at 7.25%, which is about right. Even though, you know, me and you would think that was high, that, to be honest with you, is about right. Probably should be at 5, maybe, but the personal interest rate in Russia would then possibly be, oh no, the banks would probably give you 5%, but the home loan rate would be up like 10%, I'm guessing, you know, because they obviously have to make money out of it. But see, this is the most important thing. So I'm just pointing out to you how this works, right? So let's go back to this. Now, what you need to remember is anything over 50 getting on to 60, you're classed as a bit of a basket case as debt to GDP levels. Look at Japan. Japan's just gone past, it was stuck on 240 for a long time, a couple of years. Now it's gone to 253. But then cast your eye, to the interest rate. It's negative 10%. So do you see the issue here? Now, go down one more. Italy. You know, Italy's just had the election to get rid of their government, and they've now got the 5-star and Pagodia, I think it's called, in power together, nationalists. But look, there's no way they can do anything because their debt is 131%. And their interest rate is 0. So anytime they try to take those interest rates up from 0, then that means their debt level goes up. So say they turned around tomorrow and they said, tell you what, to get this country back on track, we're going to put our interest rates at 5%. Well, you could triple that number because that would just go skyrocketing. So that's the problem, folks. There's no country that can physically go to 0 and put them back up. Now, America. Let's see what happens here. They're not too far down from the top if you haven't noticed. So for a long time, America was stuck on 100%, nearly 2 years. And then in 2016, it started to take off again. Why? Because they put their interest rates up. And it's going to keep going up, folks. So let's go back. So this is a classic case in point. Let's go on their interest rates. Let's go on the 5-year. Ooh, flatlined for years, didn't it? 2008. Okay, well let's find out. Let's go back. Yeah, 2008 to 2016 they flatlined, and then they decided to put the interest rates up. So every time they've put the interest rates up, their debt level explodes. Now, and if you look down below, Fed signals next rate hike soon, June on the table. Well, I tell you what, if they can put it up to 2%, then they're just going to kill the country straight away. So you see what I'm saying? But the big bogeyman in the, or the canary in the coal mine here is the banks. And one particular bank is Deutschbank, the most systemically, ruinous bank out there at the moment. Now that might surprise a lot of you because that's the Germans' #1 bank. But they currently have a 75 trillion, that's with a T, not a B, trillion of derivatives. Now I believe recently they got them down to something like 50, 55. So they got rid of 20 trillion. Whoa, well done. Folks, they're not going to get rid of the rest. Now in Germany, they're starting to panic because the Italians are going to pull the pin on the euro. They've actually started printing the lira again. And the second thing they're going to do is they're going to kick out all the migrants from Italy. So 5 Star and Pagodia, I can't remember their name actually, I should do. They're both nationalist organisations, and they're saying they want Italy to be for Italians again. And one of their 2 biggest things is get out of the euro and kick the migrants out. Seems implausible, doesn't it, when you consider 2 years ago Germany invited 1 million Muslims into their country. And then those Muslims, literally half of those people, do you understand this? Half of those people left the country. They don't even know where they are. They just left. So 500,000 people around Europe are just vacated Germany and just went wherever they wanted to, as soon as they got their non-restriction cards. At the same time as Italy's doing this, Slovenia, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Poland have all passed bills, more nationalist right-wing bills, for want of a better term, right-wing, nationalist. Which, if you remember, to the libtards, that means that they are criminal Nazi organisations who are intent on wrecking the world, which is ironic in itself. So what I'm going to do for you now is I'm going to show you the trading economics page for Deutschbank, and I'm going to show you how to go on there so you can show people how to do this. And what I'm about to show you is going to scare the shit out of you, to be honest with you, but it has to be done. So let's find Germany. There we go. So you go down this side of the page, click on Germany, Germany comes up. Now, if you go down to the bottom of the page, yeah, I know, I should have good books or something. I've got no life, folks. That's why I know all this stuff. So if you go down, oh, where are we? Actually, folks, forget that. I was thinking about something else. So you go up here to the right-hand side and you click stocks. Now follow the stocks down and you get to the DAX, which is the German stock exchange. Click on that. When it comes up. Okay, and then you get taken to the German stock exchange for yesterday, and then you follow the left-hand field down and you get to Deutschbank, right? And then automatically you can see there's a big flashing red thing there that doesn't look good. So let's click on Deutschbank. Now, like I said, the reason I'm showing you this is because so you can actually show other people. And look, this is not fear-mongering. Fear-mongering was a couple of years ago when I used to get panicked about this stuff and say, oh my God, and I started prepping and I over-prepped and blah, blah, blah. And so did a lot of other people I know. Stroppy me was one of them. Strop and I go back a while now. And we were prepping like crazy because we couldn't see how they could get out of it. But these people that are running these stock exchanges, etc., the Federal Reserve, they're not dummies. They might be called dummies, but they're not dummies, folks, because they're protecting their own asses. So the things that they've done over the last couple of years has just been astounding. Just absolutely astounding. Now, there was a rumour for a while that the last resort was going to be helicopter money. Well, what helicopter money is they just literally dump, they say, okay, we're going to give each and every citizen of the country $5,000, even children, to go and spend. It's okay, folks, we can look after the money. We know what we're doing. We'll get the economy roaring again. She'll all be okay. Now, we've already had one of those here with numpty nuts Rudd going out and giving everyone $900 or something. It was $1,000 to go and buy a flat screen TV. Do you remember that? 2008? We were this far from going back into a great recession. And which is another point. Do you understand? And you can find this out for yourself. 1 year ago, the Western Australian economy was classed as worse, in a worse state than the years of the Great Depression. I bet that astounds you, but if you actually go on Google and you Google it, you'll find it. And they made no bones about it. Mark McGowan came in and said exactly that. And if you remember, the people before then, Colin Barnett's government said exactly the same thing as well. The economy is currently worse than the Great Recession. Well, you think about that and you go, hang on a minute. In the Great Recession, there was few queues, etc. People couldn't afford anything. No one had a job. But then when you go down the rabbit hole a little bit more, you find out that 25% of people in Western Australia now can't afford their power. Believe this, or gas, or water. This is true, folks. This is all happening while you're sitting there going down Coles and that spending on your credit card. Western Australia, 25% of people can't afford their power bills anymore. And it's going up, not going down. And what's the first thing the McGowan government does when they come in? Jacked up everybody's utility bills by 10%. Or 6%, I think it was 7%. Anyway, you get the idea. It was a lot. When 25% of people can't afford it now. And you have to ask the question, well, how come the world's biggest supplier of liquid petroleum gas, natural gas, we have to pay for it? And we actually have to pay the companies over the odds for it. Can you believe that shit? Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But look, I'm going to show you Deutschbank now. And as I said, you need to show people this, because this Deutschbank is the bank in the world. Forget about HSBC, Barclays, etc. Deutschbank is the #1 deal maker. It sets a level for all other banks. Why? Obviously because of the German economy from the Second World War. It was a powerhouse. It is an actual powerhouse bank. Now watch this. Yesterday, the Deutsche Bank shares went down to $9.01. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because Simon asked me about all this the other night, and I showed him exactly how to do all this. So, oh, it actually went down to 9.01, 9, yeah. And even he couldn't believe this. And he's a pretty well-read, scholared man. Now, the interesting thing here is that I would ordinarily be able to show you the 5 year, 1 year, 6 month, 3 month and 1 month here. So let's click on the 5 year. You getting the message? Like, that's from 5 years ago. But that's not as bad as it is, folks, because the actual high of the Deutsche Bank shares was, I believe, but I can't show you, 100. I think if I remember correctly, it was 100 and it was either 25 or 50. I'm not sure which. So imagine you bought Deutsche Bank shares, you put all your faith in them. Why wouldn't you? Because, you know, they are the supremo bank to buy shares in, and you're thinking, you beauty, this is my way to make some dosh. Well, today you are sitting there going, oh my God, I now have junk shares, which is what that is, folks. If you've got $9 shares when they've gone from 150, they're junk. Think about that. So you've got not Barclays or HSBC or anything else. You've got Deutsche Bank shares, and your Deutsche Bank shares are now no better than junk. And I've just shown you. It would take some sort of massive miracle for that to actually skyrocket. So show as many people that as you can. Now let's just go on the business pages here of the ABC for a second. And this is just from yesterday. So yesterday we got two things, or the day before. Reserve Bank of Australia was going to leave interest rates at 1.5% for a record 22 months. And then, before we know it, we got told our GDP is, it's a powerhouse. It's all coming back, folks. And then, as economy reaches zenith, leading economists warn next recession already here or in view. Well, hang on a minute. Didn't you wankers just tell us that our powerhouse economy and our debt to GDP levels were better than we ever hoped for? So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what you just said. Our economy's booming. We've actually got more people in work. We've got this, we've got that, blah, 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 blah. So how come we're having a recession? Didn't we just go through a kind of a recession? And Has anyone wondered why? I mentioned helicopter money before. Has anyone actually wondered why all these countries around the world are reducing tax rates all at the same time for businesses and for personal? It's kind of like helicopter money, folks. So before they go for the helicopter money, they've all got together and they said, well, how the hell are we going to get this motivated again? Well, what we'll do is we'll give everybody tax cuts, businesses, everyone. So they'll put that money straight back into the economy. And that's what everybody did. And that's what everybody's going to do. But you see, the problem there is the more you spend, the more money you get to spend, the more you're going to spend, and inflation goes up. Once inflation starts to get out of control, there's only one way that can control it. And guess how that is? To put the base interest rate up so that the banks have to follow. It all sounds doom and gloomy, folks, but it's kind of not, because if you're actually prepared, if you're actually forewarned and prepared, then you should know what you're going to do about it. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing, not a thing that any of us can do about this, regardless of whether America finds any more oil or gas or whatever they find, or the only way they can get out of this now is to call a debt jubilee and just say, as of tomorrow, everything disappears and we start from scratch again. Think about that. All business debt's gone, all personal debt's gone. The whole thing is just restructured overnight or on a weekend, because what'll happen is you'll go to work Friday, they'll shut all the banks down on Friday afternoon, say 3 o'clock, and you'll have a long weekend banking holiday, and on Tuesday the whole world's been restructured monetarily. But geez, you got to pull some strings to get that right, and I don't think they're there yet. So for all these years that I've been going on about the financial crisis and everything else, well, we never got out of the financial crisis. It was just a big smoke and mirrors game. You know, when you go into those wall of mirrors in the shows, you know, and you're walking through, and then you're fat, and then you're skinny, and then you're two people, then you're one, and well, that's all they've done for this whole time, is just done that repeatedly. Just kept pushing us through the hall of mirrors. Well, the problem is we're getting up to the skinny stage. And then the next one after the skinny stage is you get pushed onto the haunted house, and the first thing that opens up is a coffin. So this whole Italy thing has a big bearing on what happens with Deutschbank, because Deutschbank is more in line with Italy because they've been underwriting Italy's debt. So you see why you're hearing about all this stuff about Italy and, you know, Europe and and you know, stock markets crashed, etc. Well, they're shitting themselves, folks. They are literally shitting themselves at the moment. So look, I'll leave it there. I hope I've made my point. You can go on it and have a look for yourself. It's not that hard. Forewarned is forearmed. And as always, folks, the verse of the day, and then we'll do the Lord's Prayer. Okay, verse of the day. So that Christ may dwell in your heart through faith, and I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power, together with all the Lord's holy people, to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. Wow, good verse. And very apt. And okay, folks, the Lord's Prayer. Say it with me. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Well, folks, that's it from me. I don't really have anything else to say. I could talk about the financial for hours, to be honest with you. It's sadly something that years ago people used to know a lot about, and now because of our own personal slackness and greed, because of a thing called a credit card, we don't give two craps about. And ironically, it's the thing that's going to bite everyone on the arse first before anything else happens. And you're literally going to have people walking across round roads going, how? Why? How did this happen? I thought everything was okay. The same is the thing with, you know, what's going on in America. When they really bring it out, people are going to be walking around going, how? Why? I thought everything was okay. I watched Channel 9 News yesterday and they told me everything was peachy keen, to use an American expression. But it's not. It's a load of bollocks. And it has been for a long, long time. And like I said, I'm not doom and gloom about it anymore. I may sound it, but I'm not, because I'm actually prepared for it. If you want to be smart, buy a little amount of gold and a little bit of silver. Keep yourselves one step ahead of everybody else. All right, folks, I'll leave it there. God bless. Prep out.